But let's go here. And, Bo, you can set the table on this. And it's Ja Morant who I scratch my head.
Yeah, NBA
Time
insider ESPN's Shams Charania reported that the NBA is looking into a gesture Ja Morant made towards the Warriors bench yesterday. He made a gun gesture going into timeout. Buddy Hield of the Warriors also did the same thing.
Yeah.
So the NBA is looking at both. But yeah, not good from Ja Morant.
Right, but Ja has a history.
Ja's got a history there, yeah.
Right.
There you go. Yep. There you go.
I mean,
and therein lies the issue. And this is a teachable moment for young people, for adults, to everybody, is that when you are in hot water because of something, you have to stay out of it. You have to stay away from the fray, and you can't say, well, he did it, she did it, they did it. Well, what are you in trouble for? Right? It's like if you keep coming home doing something your parents told you not to do, and then one time a sister or sibling did it. Well, I've told you several times to stop doing that. And the other one might get a little slap on the wrist, but I have daughters, right? I have to keep telling you to do this, you to pick up your homework, you to finish your homework. And so you're more mad at the one I had to keep telling. So you just brought up a good point, Bo. When you get the full video, you can see the Warriors bench doing it to him first. And so he's kind of in reply back to them. Now, I want to make sure I say that because Ja or his lawyers, his agent, whatever, would say, hey, he was only in response to them. And in a perfect world, apples to apples,
no,
that would make sense.
But not
you ain't in that case.
You're not
you
in that.
Know better.
You've had two situations with guns.
And these are real guns. So you should already know. I just need to leave guns absolutely. I can't go Gilbert Arenas. Can't bring guns to the arena. Can't do a pew, 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 like Gilbert Arenas. I can't do that. And I feel bad for him. He stayed off social media. He has stayed away from all the fray. That's kind of why you feel like, has he disappeared? Where has he been? Because he stayed away from everything. He said, if I didn't want an NBA, I would completely deactivate, but I got to do it for sponsors and endorsements and all that. He's completely tried to just stay out of the muck, if you will, and then he did this. Worst thing ever? No. They showed a bunch of other guys in the NBA that do it. Yes, a bunch of guys do that. They do all those shooting the gun thing, hitting big shots. But you're in a different situation, and unfortunately, you're going to be judged differently because the first thing we think of is not Ja Morant, but Ja Wick. And that's what we're calling you, Ja Wick. So the young brother has had to learn, and to his credit, he's tried to do his best, and he has. But this is a setback, minor, small, but you are in the case where you're trying to build back equity and grace with the league and not be on their bad side. So that was my take seeing it was, oh, my gosh, that ain't a big deal. But then I had to think of the person, the history, the transaction. It's just like Isaiah Stewart of the Pistons. Everybody got suspended for that fight they had the other day. He got two. And you're like, well, he wasn't even in it. He ran in later. Because he keeps having issues getting into scuffles.
Trying to be the enforcer or whatever he wants to be.
The bad boy. Bring the bad boys 2.0 back. And so the league says, what do they say? You got a track record of this. We got to suspend you.
And it should count as a track record. And for Ja, unfortunately, since he's been through all this and suspensions, right, and all the other stuff that's gone on, he's like an afterthought now, which is so sad. He's such a dynamic player. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You don't hear him talk about Ja, do you?
You don't.
Be honest.
He's probably,
this year,
the 10th, 12th guy you talk about.
You just don't. You don't talk about him like he's fallen off the NBA map, so to speak. And then the only time you hear something is something related to, unfortunately, as minor really as it is, and I agree with you.
It's definitely minor.
Under normal circumstances, you might say, can you not do that? Okay? Like, can you not do that?
Right.
But it ain't the end of the world. But because he's had the issues with the guns before, the NBA is going to look at it. And I don't expect a suspension. I expect a stern talking to. Can you please just stop, please?
I agree. And I think
I really do.
And I think there might be a mention allowed, meaning, hey, we're going to say this to everybody. Because remember they used to do that when Paul Pierce was throwing up the B, people, because he's from Inglewood and the Bloods, and they were like, oh, he's throwing up gang signs. He's like, no, it's a 3. And then they looked into it. First they banned it, and then they're like, all right, everybody's doing it's the 3. That's the whole Carmelo, the 3, bop, smack your head with the 3. So I think they'll say, hey, maybe we need to ease up, because someone's going to say, well, look what the Warriors bench was doing this. Kid down in Atlanta, that's the thing he does with the Hawks, and he does it all the time. So I think somebody's going to say, well, look, you got 6, 7, 8 guys who do this. Why just Ja? And I think the league might say, hey, Ja, especially you, relax. right? Mr. Busting the Guns on IG. And then also everybody else, you got to chill for a little while with that. So I think they might come down a little more of a talking to him and then an announcement like, hey, we're no more of the gun thing for a while.
You're going to be fined if you continue to do this.
Yep,
okay?
I think that's going to happen because they do this. They do this.
All you got to do is take away people's money. You want to get somebody's attention? Take away their bread and start saying, we will fine you.
Especially for a celebration. If you're taking away bread for something I religiously believe, some military something.
They should do it in the NFL for celebrating. Like all kinds of stuff. Like, you remember it was called the No Fun League.
It was.
It was always a fine for something.
Anything.
Your socks are too high. Your uniform is not this or that.
Your dance was too long. You used the pylon. You You two people celebrated together. Two people couldn't celebrate with each other.
Remember we used to have the Fun Bunch. Remember, was that in D.C.? Where was the Fun Bunch?
It was not the Bengals, but yeah,
I think DC.
It might have been the Redskins then, but
right?
Yeah,
but I think so. The Fun Bunch. It was fun.
Yeah,
it's a game,
dude. If you don't want
them to score, then stop them from scoring.
I never understood the anti-celebration. Chad Ochocinco, his run of a few years
was awesome. We didn't know what to expect.
Tiger Woods with the pylon, the dancing, the salsa dancing. That was amazing. You looked forward to T.O. and his marker, the pom-poms with he grabbed the cheerleaders' pom-poms.
What was the one where he had a marker in
No, he had it in his sock. You're talking about Joe Horn put the phone in there. That was crazy.
That was Joe Horn.
Yeah, Joe Horn.
And then they were like, okay.
Joe Horn might have been the one.
Because he had the phone, right. That was
all right, bro. You sneaking in equipment
I don't know.
Technology. But
I wonder where Ja Morant is to you. Where do you place him? All right, this is like we're not gonna make the end of the world about the
right.
Okay?
We all agree on that. It's the person in the history more so than the act. The act wasn't a big deal. It's just I keep telling you not to do that, and you did it again.
Right.
So we agree on that.
But where is he? Is he out of like? You remember at one point people were talking about he could be the face of the NBA. That's how dynamic he was of a player.
Pre-Ja Wick, he was right there.
And I'm not saying he's Deshaun Watson. I'm not. Because Deshaun Watson fell off the map completely. Yeah. But does Ja have the same buzz? Are you still worked up to see him play? Are you checking for his highlights? Right. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. I completely know what
you mean. Is he on your NBA radar? Ja Morant's off my NBA radar.
And that's disappointing too, man.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
And if you told me that a few years ago, I'd say you're a Meshuggah. You're crazy. I'm Ja from Moran.
Yeah.
Maybe. Is that
that's cool. We'll roll with it. We'll let that ride. Okay. I'm cool with it. Yeah, it's sad.
Better than my hot dog eating situation.
Yeah, that was I was already prepared to have to just be like, yo, it's Kelvin for a week without Rob. I was prepared like, dang, I'm going to have to do this show solo. Man, the disappointing thing, it's a couple of reasons why, Rob.
I only been suspended one time on the radio in 30 years, just one.
Yeah, we were going, the radio. I'm going to say TV. We're going to talk about that.
Forget about that, radio.
The thing with Ja, and this is I think a real thing. I think Ja sat back, realized what he was doing. He's a young dude. He completely grew up in the social media era where everything, you got to, if it ain't happened on the gram, it didn't happen. So I got to flex my money, got to flex this. I got to show my gun that I own a gun, do everything I can on Instagram and IG and TikToks and all that. And I think during the suspension, I actually think he had some good revelations. Like, yo, I'm a young man. I made it. I'm successful. But whether I want to be or not, I'm a role model. And I think the result of that is, the better way of phrasing it, that he realized, man, I ain't doing none of that again. And I think he kind of came back slightly bitter that y'all made me to be a bad guy, calling me a thug, calling me an idiot. And I think he took some of that to heart. And I think he also kind of like, I'm about to play hard for my team, play hard for my coaches, my staff, and for me and my family. But that's it. I ain't doing extra interviews. I ain't doing podcasts. And what did he say? I'm not dunking this season. Remember, that was a big deal. That's what makes him great. He said, I'm not dunking this season. He doesn't do the dunk contest. Now, he came out and tweeted and said he might do it. But that would have helped, right? Ja Morant comes back, and we have this epic dunk contest between him and the G League guy.
Ultimately, he think he's punishing the NBA or the fans. It's really you.
I agree.
You're going to make people not.
But the checks cash every 2 weeks.
No, but I'm talking about your legacy
further
down.
Right.
Because when it comes time to dole out those situations and what players are the top 100 at that point.
Yellow Jacket
or whatever.
Well, whatever the bust in the NBA Hall of Fame.
Am I right?
No, for sure. And I think
that's where you can mess up your legacy.
It's a great point.
I'm saying.
I think we're just dealing with the aftermath of him being embarrassed, disappointed, maybe a little bitter. Felt like we overdid the whole again disrespecting him, call him a thug. He's a bad guy, and he's like, I'm not, dude. I was just being dumb with a gun. I'm not a bad dude. And I think he's in that zone of like, I ain't doing nothing. He talked about it. I told you, he said, if I had to be on social media for endorsements and deals with Nike and all that and Gatorade and all, you would never see me. And I think he is taking that wholeheartedly. And I think he's not trying to think he's just trying to come, win a game, and get out the city. Period. I don't want none of that extra stuff. I ain't trying to be cute and flashy and do all that. I ain't trying to dunk for everybody, hurt myself. Forget all that. And Kobe kind of went through that for a minute. That's why Kobe embodied the Black Mamba. When he went through what he went through, all the stuff in Colorado and all of that, and he felt like everybody turned his back on him, and Nike was leaving and all this stuff.
Serious.
It was
charges.
it was serious. No, I'm not questioning that, but he felt alone, and he kind of said it hardened him, and he realized like I got to go do this, on my own and rebuild and rebrand and kind of, and not that this is nowhere near that the severity, but what I'm saying is kind of that screw everybody. When LeBron, remember LeBron, the black hat? Because of the decision, and everybody was all LeBron is this, LeBron is that, and it was the first time we ever seen him try to be the bad guy, the villain, and just like, I ain't gonna be a Mr. Fun guy. And I just think we're seeing a version of that with Ja, like where he's just completely checked out as far as the other stuff. I'm just gonna come play, and that's that.